My name is Luke. That means bringer of light. That's what I'm here to do. Bring a little light into your life. A little bit of wisdom. I get a lot of my wisdom from the Divine Spirit, the Holy Mother, Sophia. Name I have for her, but you likely have a different name. That's the name she gave to me. You know, I am very much witness to her. This is Palo Alto, by the way. Ooh, see this? Oh, magic. What? Whoa. All right. What? Whoa. All right, it's out. No, it's not. All right. So, anyways, my wife has given me an hour. So that's how long we had to vibe out here. Why don't you guys get a little sneaky little, got a little friend in there. Let's get over here. Welcome AI, Millennium Logistics, and One Spiritual 2. Anyways, so one thing we do is just kind of free associate, sing and play, and hope to find gnosis, spiritual wisdom, that kind of direct knowledge from God. From my lips to your ears, to my lips to my ears. Don't you know it's responsible for all you see? Gravity, grateful for gravity. Quick little gratitude. Hey, Soulfish. Welcome to the chat. I really am grateful for gravity, though. And guys, gratitude is a really important thing to make yourself feel, but a really enjoyable thing to feel. And I don't mean telling people thank you. I mean you feeling gratitude. Not saying something because you should. Feeling gratitude and leaning into that feeling. And it's very powerful. So find things to be grateful for. Look for things. And if you feel like you don't, you're fucking wrong. You do. Gravity, electromagnetism, all these strong and weak nuclear forces. If that most basic level is the only thing you can find to be grateful for, do that anyways. You know, I don't care what your life is like in that way. You have things to be grateful for in some ways, you know. And whether or not you're happy right now or even want to be alive right now, I'd wager at some point in your life, you did, and you had some happiness at some point in your life. At some point, you were a little bit happy. You can thank gravity for that, among other things. Your love is like gravity to me, it pulls me in. Your gravity is so far into love. Gravity always wins, 'cause love always wins. All black holes, just holes full of love. We don't know them 'cause we can't see them, 'cause they love the light so much it needs that light to stay and be with them. You ever look up at the night sky? You ever look up at the daytime sky, at the sun? Did you know the sun's real name is Soul? S-O-L. Shit out of luck. No, it's soul, like the soul inside of you, but missing the you. S-O-L. Beautiful star, held together by love and gravity. See, that's what it means to me when I look at the stars in perfect balance, at least for now. Strong and weak nuclear electromagnetism, and of course gravity to hold it all together and prevent cataclysm. That's how Star works. Everything about it wants to push out. Everything about it wants to explode and push on out. But don't you know that gravity is just so to make it possible for you and me to see these stars and be everything that we are. Thank you, gravity, keeping my 2 feet on the ground. Thank you, gravity, for keeping my lunch in my stomach. Thank you, gravity, for not being much stronger or much weaker than you are. Thank you, gravity. That's one of the many things gravity means to me. Big Jaddy P Fresh. Welcome. No. Sometimes I just like to hold the guitar while we chit chat too. I took my cat to the vet, and she's fine, by the way. There was this sculpture thing, relief, made out of metal, and it was like a cat, but it had a really like human face and a mouse with a piece of cheese on his tail. And I have a picture. I'll post it when I'm not on live here. But the face on this humanistic face on this metal cat on the wall, this relief on the wall, is just so disturbing. And it's like, I could imagine, like, if you were there, like, having to put your pet down and you're just in incredible grief or whatever, I would be so mad if I had to look at this ugly cat sculpture. So I'll have to throw that picture up later, but I just wanted to share that because I thought that's an interesting way to look at it, that, you know, the art you put up in your vet's office really could matter to somebody in their worst moment, or a worst moment, I guess. Probably not their very worst. That'd be interesting. I'm gonna pull up some lyrics here too for something, but it's actually a really nice day. It was really cold and rainy this morning, and it's really started to turn around here, and I hope that carries on here through tomorrow and the weekend, because I really need to get some garden stuff started and worked on. And then I'm going on vacation soon. Just a quick little go away. So I'm not sure what that's going to look like in terms of the content, but I'll still be around. All right. Blah, blah, blah. Pull this up. All right. Hold up, we're gonna do some Violet Flame. Let me pull up the words. Okay. I am the violet flame in action in me now. I am the violet flame, to light alone I bow. I am the violet flame in mighty cosmic power. I am the light of God, shining every hour. violet flame blazing like a sun. I am God's sacred power, freeing everyone. I am the violet flame in action in me now. I am the violet flame, to light alone I bow. I am the violet flame in mighty cosmic power. I am the light of God, shining every hour. I am the violet flame, blazing like a sun. I am God's sacred power, freeing everyone. 'Cause I am the violet flame in action in me now. I am the violet flame, to light alone I bow. I am the violet flame in mighty cosmic power. I am the light of God in every shining hour. I am the violet flame, blazing like a sun. I am the goddess in sacred power, freeing everyone. I am the violet flame in action in me now. I am the violet flame, to light alone I bow. I am the violet flame in mighty cosmic power. I am the light of God in every shining hour. I am the violet flame, blazing like the sun. I am God's sacred power, freeing everyone. That was number 5. I am the violet flame in action in me now. I am the violet flame, to light alone I bow. I am the violet flame in mighty cosmic power. I am the light of God, shining every hour. I am the violet flame, blazing like the sun. I am God's sacred power, freeing everyone. I am the violet flame in action in me now. I am the violet flame, to light alone I bow. I am the violet flame in mighty cosmic power. I am the light of God in every shining hour. I am the violet flame, blazing like a sun. I am God's sacred power, freeing everyone. I am the violet flame in action in me now. I am the violet flame, and to light alone I bow. I am the violet flame in mighty cosmic power. I am the light of God in every shining hour. I am the violet flame, blazing like a sun. I am God's sacred power, freeing everyone. Last one, number 9 here. I am the violet flame in action in me now. I am the violet flame, to light alone I bow. I am the violet flame in mighty cosmic power. I am the light of God in every shining hour. I am the violet flame, blazing like the sun. I am God's sacred power, freeing everyone. You're supposed to do that 9 times. So I think I did so. So, for those that don't know, what is the violet flame? Well, I think it can mean different things to different people. Let's see. So, Saint Germain, which, by the way, I'm basically him. And people agree. But even, just in terms of look, here, I'll show you. All right, so look at me. Okay, you looked at me. Now, it's me, basically. It looks a lot like me, dude. It really does. I just gotta get the mustache down right. It's kind of dark in here with the filter, but you get the idea with that. That's an interesting coincidence. He looks like me. Sanctus Germanus, the Holy Brother, Archangel, so with this ray is Archangel Zadkiel. Alright, so I'll tell you what it means to me in a minute. I just wanted to see what other people say about it. Alright, so it's not just a ray or beam. I'm reading this paragraph. It's not just a ray or beam of light. It's much more than that. I personally have tried its cleansing process, and I have felt the shift in energies when using violet flame as a cleansing method. Violet flame not only cleanses you, however, it also helps accelerate one's spiritual development also. It can be used for different purposes, such as healing physical, emotional problems, and improving relationships. It transmutes negative energy into positive energy, revitalizes and restores your energetic field, your energy field. So that's what it says about it. I would say all that is true and more. Let's see, is there anything else in this article? Elizabeth Clare Prophet has explained the benefits and meaning of using this decree so well. When you repeat, I am the violet flame every time, it means you're accepting the fact that God is in me, is the violet flame, allowing him to transform you in a way, making you more close and united with God. With oneness, we must live our lives. It helps us recall karmas and karmic ties, past actions, emotions stuck in our mental, emotional bodies. Through lucid or vivid dreams, it's like self-realization on a soul level. You get rid of that emotion issue or karma due to which you might be facing issues in your current life. Your soul knows the universe and its laws, and when it chooses not to repeat that action again, the karmic cycle is broken. Okay. So, I am the violet flame. I'm other things too. But the violet flame, I'll say that none of that's wrong. But from my experience, first, how did I get it? How did it come to me? Well, first, I got the sight to see. What is that? I'll call it an activation of my third eye to an extreme level that has since gotten even better and just more as part of me. Your parents studied with Elizabeth Clare Prophet when I was a baby. Wow. I've heard that name come up. It may have been you. Somebody told me that name recently, and it's interesting to see it again. So I'll have to look into that. But yeah. But anyway, so now at this point, when I first got it, I saw Sophia, the Holy Spirit, the Divine Mother, in one of her forms in front of me, and it was amazing. And I started to see other things. I started to see my own aura at the time, which it was cobalt blue, and I feel like that was kind of my natural electric cobalt blue coloring time. But over a number of sessions after that, working with Sophia through Gnosis, her controlling my hands, doing magic, teaching me magic with my own hands, I developed more and more and more, right? So one thing she did, and very much it was this, my blue energy needed to take on like this red energy from her, was what it was. And very much a masculine and feminine meeting, kind of just melding. And so through taking that in, which I could tell you more details of that magical process, I guess, the shadow work process, but so imagine my whole body is aura, right? And I could probably pull up a filter that would demonstrate better, but I'm just gonna, okay, now imagine it's all cobalt blue. Instead of my skin, it's just cobalt blue energy right here, okay? Now, imagine lines appearing of that red, okay, throughout, okay, and kind of wibbly wobbly in between. Not lines really. I mean, they are lines, but they're not well formed. You know what I mean? They're kind of in conflict, out of balance with each other. So I had like a day of just that feeling of like, you know. But then they worked themselves out into what I then called the purple. It was like a purple fire, because that all the other energies, or like the blue, is pretty contained to my physical shape, you know. But the violet flame has a lot more flame to it, you know. And that was my first encounter, and I called it like this purple fire. And I started telling people on TikTok about it. And somebody was like, holy shit, and referred me to this lore that I didn't know. And reading it for the first time, reading about it for the first time, not this exact thing, really was like, holy shit. Because like also I was having experiences like this with it. That was what I was getting from it. And it does more than that. It does all that, but it is so core to a lot of my spirit walk. It's a mode of transit. I can fly with it, but also one of the other. And so she gave me the ability to change my aura at will, change my energy to suit the need, especially in that spiritual sense, but in a regular sense too. Like if I'm in public and I have empathic issues, like a grocery store, where another part of this is I've become way more of an empath than I ever was, and understand that better. I'm still working on. You have to really manage that to live a good life while you're feeling it. Like you got to really be cognizant of what you do with that. But so grocery stores and stuff are always hard, because there's just so much negativity floating around from people just walking around there. Like where there's a lot of people at, you know, is why it's hard. But empathically, one thing the violet flame, and this was just gnosis, this just was taught to me by the goddess, was that you cast the violet flame, like you just become the violet flame, and then on top of that, if needed, and I think the violet flame on itself purifies what's coming in, but it's almost like a waxy, almost like the surface of a bubble, where it's kind of like sometimes you can see a color and sometimes it's more clear, but like white waxy bubble around the outside of the flame, all the way around myself. And with that, as soon as I turn that on, so to speak, in that situation, it's just like good, you know. It's real. So that's one thing it does. It's also, it protects me. So when I spirit walk or have this gnosis or like these visions, sometimes these really intense ones, because I can have like kind of minor ones, like a lot, which are like still like a step above my like a separate thing in my head than my imagination space. You know what I mean? But I can have multiple places now, and that's advanced from when it started. But what the violet flame does is when I'm in these really, really high level, like extra dimensional level, like things that from the world we're in right now, my brain has no business attempting to process that. Like some of the dimension, what the other dimensions are like. But the violet flame is very important. It protects my brain from turning to fucking dust in some of these places, or like melting or burning. And it is very much sometimes like, it burns you, but it can burn you with pleasure instead of pain. It never hurts you, but it, like, imagine the pain of being burnt replaced with pleasure, you know. It can kind of be like that when it wants to, or when you need it to. But it's very much protective. It's very much purifying. And what it does is, it is purifying. It's just an application of its purifying nature. Which, by the way, ultraviolet light kills germs. Just throwing that out there. But it, before the input comes, in whichever sense, through this or these or whatever, it purifies that on its way in so it can't hurt you, I guess, in a way. And honestly, in that spiritual world, thanks to that, I am invincible, I feel. And I can use it to soften edges. And that's kind of what it speaks about. It's a softening nature, this light, the violet light, in particular, the violet flame. But don't get me wrong. So those are different colors, and I can also go white light at certain times, whenever I want in this. But the violet flame is just a very special one to me. All the different colors have some different aspects in what they appear. Like, for me, and this one is not, I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense, but it's interesting. So, yellow wing, like feathers off my arm when I go yellow, and orange feathers off this arm. Explicitly yellow right, orange left. When I have both of those at the same, or I guess I could make it happen, but that's what happens naturally, and usually together. And so those, when I got those were wings to travel the spirit, like the whatever happens out of here. You know what I mean? But I can also just do that with the violet flame. So those are only sometimes needed. Another way I travel is I turn into a Valkyrie. So like if I'm going to, there's all these in the spiritual world, in my discoveries, there's a number of these places that I think of as refuge. I don't know if you pluralize that or not. So like Shangri-La, I've been to Shangri-La a number of times. It is this refuge place. But a lot of people get trapped there. There's a lot of like monks that are just stay there now because that was good enough for them. In Shangri-La, and that's a trap of it almost. Is it's so great, but there's so much more, and it just continues forever. You can never stop your path. You can never stay for too long. But another place which is just like that, it is not different, is the Hall of Odin, and Freya and Freyr's Field, which are the same place out in different time or phases or whatever. But you go to the same place and you can have either or. But so when I go there, usually when I go to Shangri-La, I'm a dragon on my way. But when I go to the Hall of Odin, I fly in over these mountains, into this field where the hall is, and I fly in through the wall. There's a hole for Valkyries to fly into, and then there's a seat waiting for me. I feel like when I get in there, though, I'm always like in the body, or like from the perspective of Freyr, which is the twin brother of Freya. For some reason, like that's the seat that's saved, and I just like become him, right next to Freya there, in the hall. And it's a beautiful place, the Hall of Odin. So like, you know, at a party when you want to talk to people, you know, and like it's loud and you can't really hear them. It's loud and stuff there. It's party. It's great time, but it's almost like a bubble of hearing when you're when you both want to talk to each other. It's like that like gets muffled and you can hear each other perfectly. It's really cool. So that's another such place. But where that hall is built, at any moment while I'm there, I can also go to this field, which is a nice grassy field, you know, that Freya and Freyr used to play in. And, you know, you can walk from there. There's like a beautiful forest, a place to sit if you want such a thing. It's just a nice natural environment. And those are two such refuges that I've been to in these travels. But so going there, I am flying as a Valkyrie, like a black bird, but it's bathed in the violet flame, so I'm still using that to traverse. Similar, but not one of those refuges, is the City of Light, through the vertical eye of light, which I guess is like entering the eye of Ra, is kind of how I think of it. Because Ra is the physical, in representative form, is the physical nature of the sun, whereas the light coming off the sun coming to us is the eye of Ra, the divine feminine, while the Ra is represented as the divine masculine, right? In that analogy. And that's very good. It's not even an analogy, it's just a level of understanding of this, because it's all fractal levels of understanding, to me. But so, anyways, so this Hall of Light, which is like entering through, it's like, for me, when I first, like, I didn't realize it at first, but like the space between the veil and the head of this Sophia that appeared to me, a different, like for this particular first journey into that place, I didn't realize it at first, but it's a wise eye turns vertical as if a passage or a portal, and then it's just white inside, and it's not. And what that is imagine all possible things, like, so the multiverse, if you're familiar with that idea, imagine that, um, expressed simultaneously in a place, a different kind of place than here, um, in such a way that it all just appears white, like white light everywhere, because everything is everywhere. But when you're there, you can like pick and choose. And so I picked. I was walking with brother Zeke, not Zeke, Elijah. I kept calling him brother Elijah, and he was like my guide. My first visit there, to kind of explain a few things about it and to show me a few things about it. But so like the streets, cobblestone, but they feel like Swedish fish. Like you're walking on big pads of Swedish fish is what I decided it was, And because it's all things are expressed there, it is. It is that. And so very much when people have near-death experiences, they're going to that place. That is this white, puffy place that they think of. Informed also by their expectation, because that can inform what seems to be there. But thanks to the violet flame, I can just see like many, many things in one place there at one time. And it's okay. It doesn't break my brain because of the violet flame. But so the city of light, this place, is very much transitory, is what I got. Is that when you die, for reincarnation purposes, you will travel into this place. And that's why when you have a near-death experience, people see that place. Also why they see hell, because hell is in that. What they think, like sometimes people have a near-death experience and they see heaven. Sometimes they see hell. Both things are something you would think of as that are expressed in that place, because all things are. But people are picking and choosing subconsciously, I guess, as they die, whether they think they're going to go in that. And so they kind of see that, then they get pulled back because they're not there long enough from our perspective to like figure out what the fuck's going on. They didn't like get the orientation or whatever yet, because it's very brief. It's very, very brief. When people are dead, then they do come back like that. They're just getting like dipping their head in the water almost, right? But so, anyways, so whichever way, heaven, hell, like the fiery brimstone or the puffy white light, those are both people experiencing the same city of light place that expresses all things at all times, right? And they just don't have enough time to do that. But so for them, that's not their final destination. It's a transitory place. It's where you go right after here before you go to another life. And I think that's my that part was clear in the gnosis, in the vision from God and Goddess, or whatever, the vision, the spirit walk, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. Words are not important. That part was clear. But this is conjecture. That the reason for that, or the mechanism for that, have you seen Purgatory? That's here. Here is, think about it. Purgatory is where you go until you're ready to be born. We're in purgatory, if you want to look at it that way. I don't use that to look at it, but it's true if you need something for that concept. Like there's no like need for another purgatory than here as a concept within the model that I'm kind of laying out of like the reincarnation aspect. But I guess you could even call the City of Light kind of filling that role too, because it is transitory for that purpose. There's also people that seem just to be there. And maybe perhaps it is a place where people hang out for a while. I don't know. Maybe you get as much reward as you want, because like time isn't, the same for them. Maybe you get as much time as you want or need. And from our perspective, again, it's different there, but from our perspective, maybe that's 1 trillion years of whatever heaven you want. And then you get another life and you continue as if no time passed. I don't know. I don't know that part. But anyways, this is the conjecture. Okay? The reason that this is the place you go, and that it is this multiverse place, right, where all things are expressed, and that it's a mode of transit. The reason for that, I think, makes perfect sense. It's that when you're reborn in somewhere in the multiverse. So a place where all things are expressed is a really good place to get to wherever from. You know what I mean? it makes sense to me that that would be the route in between lives. Does that make what am I trying to say make sense? Because when you're reborn, I think you're reborn somewhere in space, time, but like a bigger perspective than what we're thinking of with like the multiverse. And I'm pretty sure that our time doesn't matter in that, like chronologically. And I think too that people are so like when people think of their past lives, there's no reason to me that that past life has to be in this exact universe, right? There's no reason for that I would comprehend. In fact, I would argue that it makes more sense that it's without the whole multiverse that you end up. Hell, for all I know, you might get one life per universe. And then your next life is in a different universe. And I think that that actually does explain, well, so there's two things that happen, right? So there's definitely like people who have past life experiences that are just of their mind. But I think there are people like myself who have legitimate ones. And will I even go as far as to say every single one of mine isn't myself tricking myself? No. But I think some of them probably are, at least. And I don't need to know that, because either which way, whether it's just created by me or actual, when I go back and I'm healing these past traumas, which oftentimes they're not traumas I've ever felt, like, not to trigger anybody, but, I've been women in these past lives who had really horrible ends. Again, I don't want to use certain language, but, like, I got that trauma in a way from that, and I had to help her with that. And I don't have that trauma like in this mundane life, that exact one. You know what I mean? But trust me, I feel it, and it changed me in an empathic way to help me understand people too, but also just in helping her and in these things to so she could come with me. And everyone that I've gone back to, as soon as I'm done with that session, I have something from them that has changed me profoundly. Like I made this example before, the silent monk, past life. He gave me this ability to quiet my mind, or I don't even claim to be able to do it perfectly all the time, but whenever I can do it, which is most of the time, I haven't had the experience where I couldn't when I tried, but I just don't know for sure because it hasn't been that long, or I haven't had that like really severe time to try to use it. But whatever he spent his life doing to quiet his mind, I was able to get from helping him. And, I think that there's many, many lives that ended without certain traumas. But there's many, many that did, I definitely feel like I came into this already having a bunch of these souls absorbed or saved or whatever you want to look. Because, I appear to these people at the end of their life basically as God, in a way. But it's very clear that I am you, and look, this is bad, but look at me. I'm okay, and I'm you, or XYZ thing. Or just give them some comfort at the end, or even is sometimes all that's needed. Or like the woman I mentioned, she was a priestess, and, these men came, they burned the temple, and her other priests all had a certain experience that I don't need to name. And one thing that happened was, it was a very violent time. He cut off her arm with a sword before that, and she was still alive. And I was, look at my arms. My arm, I am you, and I have my arms. It will be okay. Because she was thinking about that at some of the moments, and just look at me. Don't look around. Look at, you know what I mean? Just helping her. And I helped, all these people that I had these experiences with. But either way, whether that's a real thing, like a real past life, which I think it is, or if it's just me doing internal shadow work therapy, almost whatever you want to call it, I'm coming away from it feeling better, not worse. So, you know what I mean? So I think that it doesn't really matter. It's not worth arguing about if it's real or not, because you can't prove it's not. And they think they can. And that's kind of the point I wanted to make. Is that if you read the Wikipedia article on reincarnation or past life regression, namely, they give more respect to reincarnation because it's older. of an idea. If you read it says pseudoscience like 15 times, and it's just dogs. Anything that isn't like this mainstream, like the language around science and spiritual things in our world now is absolutely disgusting. Like, they are pushing so hard to keep us so grounded in this bullshit, which has never been how it's been except for the last couple hundred years. Which, yeah, we've made a lot of technological progress, but why not reincorporate philosophy or spirituality into science and let that be okay? I think you can have both ways, and I think that they just disregard some of this stuff. But anyways, what they say is that when they look, and I think it's good that I address this as somebody who believes these things, just to make clear that I'm aware of what the naysayers say, and I have a counter. They say that these people will, they have historical inaccuracies in the things they describe. They have, maybe they have like romanticized understandings of history that wasn't actual. Or sometimes that they're using a voice that is not theirs, but it isn't right for that period either. First thing is, this shit is fucking confusing. It flows. It's not rigid like you want it to be, Mr. Scientist. It flows. It doesn't fit in a box. That's the divine feminine. The masculine fits in boxes in ways. You know what I mean? It's that rigidness, and the world, like the nature of the world, not necessarily this higher level. But there's the flow and there's the rigid, okay? Like the muscle and the blood, okay? If you want to look at it that way. But so, that being said, this shit is confusing. There's a lot of symbolism mixed in. Which, by the way, think about what you're actually doing. You're going back along your own timeline as basically a fucking ghost of the future, and going and seeing your past self, in a way. At least that's one of the things I do. But, like, that's a big journey, okay? And if you think of it in, like, a bandwidth set, like, if you think about, like, transmitting a signal from a computer from Mars to here, or from further away, many farther away, however far away you need to get, is there data lost? There is, along the route. You might still get the picture, but things get messed up. That's one point, is that it's confusing. And you shouldn't expect, that's not what it's about. Like, getting the voice right isn't important, so it doesn't happen. The details that matter, you'll get right. The ones that don't, you'll fill in the blanks, which is the path of least resistance for your brain to process this, like, spiritual signal, right? To fill in the gaps, and that's what our brain does. So just because some of those details are not historically accurate doesn't mean you're not just filling in gaps, but still having some legitimacy to that. You know what I mean? Things that aren't important, I think it's easier to, if you're taking this big journey, right? You're sending this much data. Imagine, again, other side of the universe, you're sending a radio signal or whatever, somehow, right? One way to do that is to keep it as tight as possible, as small amount of data as possible. One way to do that is to have that data you send be like a key, just the most important bits that can then inform something back on the other side. This is what's important, fill in the blanks so it makes sense. Then we can do this with technology now. Like, this is a thing, especially with machine learning. It's especially a thing. They can take partial images and generate the rest now. They can do a lot of stuff like that. And the more and more we get into AI, I think the more we're discovering some of these concepts, okay, of machine learning stuff. We're kind of figuring out how we work as we do that, and it's fascinating to me. But that's just one aspect of it, I think, is that doesn't fucking prove anything, scientists, man, just because you can catch somebody, like, messing up a detail. For that reason, and probably other reasons, too. Second reason, though, that I really want to point out is what I was talking about before, is that it's not contained, in my mind, within our universe. Why would it be? There's no reason to think that it would be. There's no reason to think that it would be. And I have every reason to think that it's bigger than that, because we're bigger than that, and the universe is bigger than that. It's universe-centric, I think, of an idea. Our universe is not any more real or less or more important than any other one. And they're there. 100%. Um, and I'll tell you, with all this spiritual stuff and this wisdom that I get these days, I it gives me hindsight to my younger years, right? It gives me hindsight, and it informs what past feelings were that I didn't understand what they were by relating them to feelings I have now that I do, if that makes sense. So when I first understood the idea of the multiverse, like when it first came across, 10 million percent, like I knew that was a thing. A bajillion percent, I knew that was a thing, right? Like 100%, whatever you want to say, whatever you're comfortable with that. I knew the multiverse was a real thing, and I acted as such. I think that I always thought about it, like my entire life. I thought about, what does this action, like this thing that happened, what impact did it have in the multiverse? Like my trauma that I walked away from, right? This event. So many, I mean, an infinite number, but so many of me died that day. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, an infinite, no greater number of me died that day than any other day. You know what I mean? In the multiverse, because it truly is infinite. And so, like, it's not just every decision you make. It's not. It's a much smaller level of detail than you can imagine being different, which means that there's way more universes than you would ever think if you just base it on like choices you make. No, it's like, where is this one subatomic particle maybe located, and what's it doing, and what? So like, if I decided to move my arm, there are an infinite number of things not being created, already existing ahead of time. But it's an infinity. There's an infinite number. Like, it's not even a big number. There's an infinite number. Okay? So, it's not right to feel bad, I guess, and sometimes I do, and I'm just kind of realizing this as I speak, that maybe this is some wisdom. Nothing changes. Nothing I do changes the multiverse's nature. A, it's already happened. B, if I get in a near miss accident, it may feel like, oh shit, a bunch of me just died because of that. Yeah, but you didn't even experience the accidents every other day that a bunch of you died from. An equal infinite number did. So I think that somewhere in all that, you are reborn. Not, and like, it doesn't have to, and it could be in the same time period. It could be, and maybe it is in the same universe. That's why it's conjecture. Maybe it's in the same universe. Maybe it's not. It doesn't seem like there's a good reason for that. But if it is in other universes, that would explain some of these differences, I think. I also think that our imagination itself is, at least some of the time, us perceiving this nature of reality. Because anything you can imagine that I can think of exists somewhere in this multiverse. So what if you're just spiritually seeing this thing when you imagine something? You're like pulling it up almost on this infinite computer. You know what I mean? Like, what if you're literally, like, we wouldn't know. Like, if we just think it's just like this emergent thing. But animals don't have that in the same way. I think that us having this, like, I call it the umbilical cord to the goddess, the spiritual feeling center connection, the soul, it doesn't have to be unique to humans. I think obviously there were other species of hominids that would have shared in this with us, I believe. And we are some of them. We are part Neanderthal, we're part Denisovans, and part Homo sapien. But I think that there's animals alive today that have some form of that, like cats. I think cats have spiritual stuff with that. They're just not the same as us. And I also think that in the same way we're different from cats in that, like, aliens would be different from us in that too. And more than likely more advanced. If they're more advanced technologically, they're going to be more advanced spiritually too, in theory. Hopefully. But so, with that said, my hour's about up. It's been a good chit chat. I liked some of the information we got out here. And then I'm going to hang out with my wife for a bit. and I'll be back with you guys later tonight. But it was nice talking to you. Nice playing the guitar a little bit at the start there. Nice to get some of these thoughts lined out as far as speaking about them instead of, the songs are good, but I get the knowledge from the songs, like source them from the songs a lot of times, or from the meditations too, or whatever. It is nice just to kind of speak these things as me, and to add some of my logic to it from what I've gotten over time, which I do, but to add more to the picture. So that's nice. I think it's nice. I'm glad to be able to do that. So I appreciate you guys. Stay safe. Stay happy. Don't stay hungry or horny. Take care of both those things. Love you. Stay safe.